Okay, folks, we are live. This is Fred Caney from Valley Bigfoot and Inside Virginia Squatch and Virginia, Kentucky Bigfoot Research Organization and everything. And we were supposed to have Lee Woods, but he got something we don't know. So we bought the next best thing in here, and I think he's a little better anyway, is Mr. Ed Brown.
Ed who?
Ed who? That's it, Ed who. Okay.
What's up, Ed?
Ryan Redding from upstate Yankeeville, and I have Connie Fox from Beattiesville, Kentucky, in Lee County.
Awesome.
And everything. So, tell these folks out here a little about yourself, if you don't mind.
Oh, man. Sure, I'm 49. I like walks on the beaches, holding hands, things like that. I'm kidding. No, I was, I host two shows on YouTube, the Sit Down with Ed Brown show. I also do the Sasquatch Encounters.
Oh.
Had the opportunity to interview some of the biggest names in the business, and I'm definitely honored to have a really good list of names there. As well as in the Sasquatch Encounters, I talk to just everyday people who have had encounters. I give them an opportunity to tell their experiences and tell their stories without any ridicule or interruptions or anything else. Let them tell their story, and it's been pretty successful. We really enjoy it.
Cool. You need to interview me one time.
You know what? That's a very good possibility. But you're one of those high-profile guys. You're gonna have to go on the Sit Down with Ed Brown.
That's what I want. I've been dying to do it for years.
Well, let's hook it up, man. Let's hook it up. We'll work something out, I'm sure.
Okay, I mean, it's up to you, and everything. But let's see. Okay, you're doing good stuff there, Okay, I'm gonna let Ryan start off because I know he's fighting at the best to talk to you.
Sure.
Okay,
Ryan.
Ryan.
Who are we talking to? Ed who?
Yeah, that's it. Ed who?
I got my T-shirt made.
It's that one guy from Ohio who's always somewhere else.
No, I see you run the what'd you say, Sasquatch Encounters, and I was trying to find out if you've had any of your own experiences out in the field, doing research and stuff like that.
I've had a couple times. I've had some pretty interesting experiences. One time, my very first experience was in Kentucky, down in Harlan County, Kentucky, and I can't say 100% sure that it was a Bigfoot, so I'm very careful not to say I saw a Bigfoot. However, under the circumstances, I can't imagine it being a man, and it was from quite a distance. But I went down to Harlan, Kentucky after a series of sightings that I had talked to people about, and I came out of my cabin on the morning of it was February 20th, 2015, and I had my binoculars out. I'm looking up behind the cabin, and we got overnight. I'll give you an example. My brother had a Suburban, and you couldn't see it. It literally covered his Suburban completely. It was insane.
Oh, wow.
A lot of snow. It was about 16 inches, 17 inches, 15 inches, something like that. I never really measured it, but it was a lot of snow and ice. And so I got my binoculars out, and I'm looking up behind the cabin, and I see what could have been a trackway. I mean, it could have been a rabbit, could have been a deer, who knows what it was. But I wanted to go up and check it out, So I found that it was a lot harder to get up there than I expected. And I am climbing this mountain literally on my hands and knees, trying to get up there because underneath the snow was little logs and everything else. I'm twisting my ankles and everything else. And having a really hard time. And from behind me, at a pretty good distance away, but it was definitive, no question about it. It was a very solid piece of wood hitting a very solid piece of wood. Really loud, but it came from a distance. And I froze. I sat there and I waited for a minute. I was thinking, man, that was odd. I was hoping to hear it again, but it never happened again. So eventually, about 10, 15 seconds, it seemed like forever. I turned around, I'm sitting on my butt in the snow, and I got my binoculars, and I'm looking over the other mountains. and I'm guessing a mile and a half away from me, and I'm looking through binoculars, so, you know, this thing looked like it was like 2 inches tall. But I saw something. It was definitely bipedal, no doubt about it, and it was walking down about a 45-degree angle off a mountain, and it was having absolutely no trouble walking through the same stuff that I was climbing up on my hands and knees with. I couldn't see any detail. I can't say it was, but I can't see a man. I'm not a little guy, you know.
Yeah.
I can't see a guy going through the same stuff I was going through so easily. I just couldn't imagine it.
Yeah.
So I watched it, and you know the funny thing about it was I had a camera around my neck, and I got a nice camera. I mean, if I'd taken a picture of it, I could have zoomed in and probably seen some detail even from that distance. But taking a picture didn't even dawn on me because psychologically, and after this happened to me, I really got into this whole psychological aspect. Your mind is so curious about what you're seeing. You're trying to figure out what you're looking at, you know. So and it consumes your thought. When I hear someone say, well, you know, they got a picture, they got a camera, I'm like, until you're in that situation, you're wrong. You know, you're wrong. Your mind doesn't work that way. You got to figure it out first. You know, that's the way your mind works. So for some reason I didn't take a picture, but
Right.
I followed it down for about 10 seconds, I guess, and it disappeared behind a big brush, and I guess it either stopped there or it got to that point and then turned and went over the mountain the other way because it never came out the other side. So
Yeah.
that was my first experience, and I'm fairly certain that it was a Sasquatch, but I can't be sure.
Right. Well, let me ask you this question.
Sure.
What do you think Sasquatch is, in your own opinion? Nobody else can.
That's a really
Just the
really
way,
good question.
just the way you feel. Okay, go ahead.
I think that there's a series of evolution, just like you know, like you go back a million years, and at one point there were these apes. Some of them decided it was easier. It was easier to get food on the ground,
Right.
so they became bipedal, which became us, right? Some of them felt, well, you know, it's safer in the trees, you know, and so they live in the trees, so they grow, you know, different stumps and things like that to grass and climb and things like that, you know.
Yeah.
I believe that the Sasquatch is on the same evolution chain as us. It just took the break came after that. That's what I believe. So in my opinion, it is a form of, it's like a cross between a man and an ape. You know, that's what I believe.
Yeah, because the one that come out in front of me, and I'll tell you, in 1981, I had a 9-footer walk out in front of me and stand there, turned and faced me 5 feet away from me. I looked at him in the eyes, and I looked at him from his head down to his toes and back up to his eyes. The expression on his face that I seen was the face was a human face, but the look in his solid brown eyes was, so this is what a human looks like up close.
Right.
I turned my head and said, this is gonna hurt. I turned my head back around, and he done turned and started walking off. That is what got me into Bigfoot, and that's what got my curiosity piqued. You know, so I've been doing this since 1981, and no one really knows, you know. But when you get that first experience, it's like an addiction. It kind of drives you. You know what I mean?
Sure. No, I get it, and I realize this is your interview, but can I ask you a question about that experience?
Yeah, go ahead.
You said it turned and walked away. I mean, describe how it walked. Did it walk? Was it a very brisk walk, or was it a stumbling walk? You know, kind of tell me what the walk was like.
He turned to his left, and every step was at least 4.5 foot stride, and within like 10 seconds he was out of sight.
So it wasn't a run; it was just a very brisk walk. And I asked that because all these, you know, I ask questions like that during my interviews And that seems to be the correlation. I don't really hear about, you hear occasionally they're running. You hear that they ran here or how fast they are.
Well, here's the thing about it. He never straightened his leg completely up. In other words, like when I had the two, I've got videos, I got photographs of juveniles and squatches all over the place. And I've got two cinnamon blonde ones running from right to left at 30 feet in front of me. You could lay a level on their head while they're running, and that level will stay right in between that bubble, between those lines in that bubble. That's how smooth they are when they run and when they walk. Because a human will bob up and down when we walk, and we bob up and down when we run. A squatch is different. They are smooth like glass and everything.
I do have a question.
Because there's some Native American stories that mention that they walk like an Indian. Meaning that when a Native American is hunting, back in the old West days, I guess when they were hunting, they walked very smooth, and like you just said, they kind of was in a crouching position a little bit. They had their knees bent to keep them smoother. And they correlate the walking, their natural walk, similar to the way the Native Americans used to hunt. Very quiet, very smooth, very level, as you put it. So that's a great example, and I think it kind of fits right into the overall view of what I have.
Well,
as what they would do.
Yeah, when I'm being interviewed or something like that, people learn more from me by me talking, and because I put it in a type of story type way, and I let you, like when I had the interview with Vegas Paranormal and with Night Callers,
right?
They learned from me just by talking, and the way you talk, you give me your experiences, and while you're talking that, I'm picturing in my mind exactly what you are looking at. I'm looking through your eyes, and that's the best way to learn, if for like a beginner,
Make it a movie. Exactly right.
Yeah. Okay.
I did want to ask him. He said he does a lot of interviews with a lot of people on his site there. Two-part question. How many interviews does he think he's done? And what is the common consensus among witnesses? What do they say, or what stands out so much, in a Sasquatch sighting that you can see across the board from all your witnesses?
Ryan, that is another great question, man. Those are those are really good questions. And the answer to your question is, I probably interviewed, and I'm just guessing because I really have no idea, but between on the air and off the air, I bet I've interviewed over 100 people, probably, give or take a few. And the thing that really sticks out in my head is most sightings, but every sighting that is within where you're close enough to actually make detail out. Everybody describes how they surprised the Sasquatch. The Sasquatch looked surprised that they saw it. That seems to be the overwhelming one thing that connects every sighting that I've heard. When you talk about a sighting from a distance like mine, I don't think it even knew I was there. It never even, I was so far away from it, looking through some pretty high-powered binoculars, but it had no idea I was even there. But every sighting I've heard where a person can make some detail, even Kitty just did the same thing, mentioned how they looked surprised. Kitty said he had to look at his face like, oh, this is what a human looks like. It was surprised that it was so close to a human. And that seems to be the correlation that I've heard.
I'll tell you, being 5 feet away, my feet were like concrete in the ground.
Sure. I'm gonna go change your pants.
Yeah, basically, But after when he turned and walked away, it was like, okay, now I'm starting to understand, and that's what piqued my curiosity. But my question to you is, what is your goal in this? Let's say the next 5 years. What is your goal on Bigfoot?
I am a firm believer that whether you believe in encounter or not, everyone has a right to express their opinions, their encounters, things of that nature. And I think my overall goal in this entire thing is, if 5 years from now, I pass away, and the legacy I want to be left with is, I helped bring people together, because I'm telling you, we're going to solve this thing a lot sooner if we work together than we will working the way we're working now.
Exactly.
So that is my goal. That's my objective in this entire thing.
Okay. Nikki, you got any questions?
Thanks for being on, and I don't. What is your main Facebook groups?
What is your main Facebook group?
I don't. We have a group called Big Truth Researchers United.
Right.
We have also the Big Truth Facebook group that we have. And I'll be honest with you, since I've been on the road so much, I really haven't been very active on Facebook as much as I used to be. I try to get on and post something here and there, but I don't generally go into the groups because I have found that there seems to be a lot of negativity, and I just try to avoid that.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Now,
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, we actually had a new person that just came on. You're familiar with Rick Dyer there, Ed, and he's on the show right now. And I'm just wondering what you think of Rick Dyer.
Yeah, he's on our... Hey, Rick!
Hey, buddy.
Hey, Ricky. How you doing, Rick?
Hello. Good, good,
Hello,
good.
can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you? Okay, cool. You got a question for Ed Brown?
Well, I was wondering why the hell would someone have a guy named Ed Brown, one we don't know, on the show, No, hey, Ed.
It seemed like the thing. It seemed like the thing to do at the time.
They're going to be the ones to get to the bottom of this. Who is Ed Brown?
Where did that come up from?
It's kind of a two-pronged thing. It's actually kind of funny. I emceed in a conference in Montana last October.
Okay.
And it was kind of funny because when I got there, it was a meet and greet night. This is actually a funny story. If I can tell without laughing.
All right.
So I'm standing on the meet and greet night, and I'm standing there basically all by myself, twiddling my thumbs. Not one person in that entire place knew who I was, which is fine. I'm okay with that. They just told me I had a whole new audience I had to reach out to. So these two.
Can't hear him, Fred.
Fred, you got to move the phone.
Can you hear it now?
No.
How about now?
Better.
Huh?
Better, but closer. Go.
All right. Okay, can y'all hear him now?
Now what's going on?
All right, say
Those
something.
voices are cutting in and out again on my end.
All right, wait a minute here. All right, Ryan, can you hear him? Say something, Ed.
Hey, Ryan, can you hear me okay?
It's kind of dulled down. I think either one of you guys might need to turn the volume back up on your phone.
All right, how about
Fred,
now?
when you put
Whoa,
your headset on, it went quiet.
Hold
Yeah,
on.
when you put your headset on, it went quiet.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. Ed, I gotta take my headphones off.
Lot
Okay, how
better.
about now? Go ahead, start talking, Ed.
Testing, 1, 2.
Yeah, okay,
Good.
all right. Okay, we're good. All right. So anyway, you got that around. Cause see, I had to write a song about you and give it to Walter Strong, but I have yet to give it to him because I've almost finished with it.
All right.
But I'm not
Are
going.
you going to sing it?
Used to years ago.
No, I mean, are you going to sing it now? Are you going to sing
No,
it?
hell no. No.
Oh,
I gotta be.
Come on, man.
You got to play it. You got to sing it.
That's true.
No. No.
You know, if I wrote a song, I'd sing it.
Well, I would too. But the problem is, I don't have the words in front of me, and I got to be in the mood to sing, and I'm not in the mood to sing and everything.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Okay. Connie. Connie's on a 5-second delay. Connie, unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
There you go.
Okay. You have a question for Ed.
Yeah.
Okay, what is it? He's on a 5-second delay.
Sure, no problem.
I'm not really too familiar with Ed. I've just started hearing about him here recently.
I didn't catch that. I'm sorry.
Say it again, Connie.
If I had a question, I'd sure ask.
She said she just recently started hearing about it, and she didn't know who Ed Brown was.
Yeah, she didn't know who you were.
Don't feel bad. A lot of people don't. It's okay.
Oh, okay, cool. So anyway,
I do have a question. I wanted to ask him. I recently seen that he's got a new skit out with Richter called Face Off, and they discussed some footprint action. Can you tell us a little bit about that and about that show that you're doing?
Yeah, Face Off. Actually, it's a really a great show, and the idea is, two people get together and they just debate different topics. And it doesn't mean it's not all going to be about Bigfoot. As a matter of fact, we've got one on the JFK assassination. We've got one. We got a couple done already on Bigfoot. We've already filmed another one, a couple more actually, that'll be coming out in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So it's going to be, it's interesting, and it's basically just debating topics, because Richard and I, even though we get along real well, we don't agree on very much at all. I mean, we really don't. And,
yeah, I've noticed
it's okay,
that.
But that,
I said I've noticed that.
yeah, I mean, and it's okay, people can disagree and have intelligent
Rick, are you clicking?
conversations without getting in arguments, and it's okay if they do.
Yeah, that's true. All right, well, let me see here.
Okay.
Okay, Lale, you got a question?
I think Rick's always got a question for Ed.
Well, I said Lale.
Oh.
I really don't have a question at the moment. I'm still getting into the show and figuring what's going on.
Okay.
But Rick, you
Yes.
you friended me today. That's me, Lale. Nice to meet you again. We've been on a podcast together a time or two.
Nice to meet you.
Okay. Come back to me later on as the show progresses. I might have something in it. It's interesting, though.
Okay. All
I
right.
was going to ask I was going to ask Ed about footprints and what he actually thinks.
That's what I was going to ask you, but go ahead.
Go ahead. I mean, go ahead.
No. I can always ask a question. Y'all are on a panel, so y'all.
Just in regards to, does he have his own cast? I mean, has he found any? So on and so forth. What does he believe? About all the.
Okay. Okay. Do you have any cast and of any?
I've never made a cast of a print that I have found. I found quite a few prints. For the most part, they're they could go either way. They could be bear, they could be human, or they could be Bigfoot. It's really hard to tell. There's things you gotta look for. Like for example, a few weeks ago, we went on a Bigfoot excursion. There was Russell Acord, who is my co-founder for the International Bigfoot Conference, and Dan Lindholm, who is, of course, my partner with the Big Truth channel. It's actually his. I'm his partner, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
We had Kurt Brown, who's a great friend of mine from out there in California, and of course Adam Davies went with us as well. And we went out to the Sierras, and we found it was interesting because we never found a track way per se, but we probably found like 8 prints, and every one of them were identical. But they were in different locations. They were every one. And I'm pretty sure it was 13. They were each one were 13 inches long. They were 5 inches at the heel and 7 1/4 inches at the ball of the foot. Out of all the ones we found, none of them were castable. They were all just impressions in the soft dirt, except for one. And we made a cast of it. And ironically, Adam, myself, and Kurt had gone to where Kurt had his sighting, had his face-to-face sighting from like 10 feet away.
Right.
And Adam is questioning Kurt about his sighting. Literally, Kurt's saying, I was standing right here, and the Bigfoot was standing right there, and Kurt looks down, and right by where he's standing is where we found this one print that we did cast. It's still in the process of being cleaned up. There's nothing definitive in it yet. We're hoping something comes out of it, but at the moment, it's just still in the process. We don't know yet. But it's so we did cast one of those. And when I was out at Jonathan and Sarah Brown's property,
yeah,
I found a couple of prints out there as well. One was definitely a juvenile, and one would be an adult. It was a good, probably a 15-inch print. Very, very detailed toe impressions, even some mudslide with the toes. I thought it was a great print. Unfortunately, I didn't have any casting material with me, so I was unable to even try to cast it, although I think it would have been a good one. But I did not cast that print. I did take pictures of it, so I've got pictures of that.
Now, I'm under the impression you visited the Brown's residence, and was there something with FLIR footage or something also?
Not the night. The night I was there, we didn't have any. We didn't catch any FLIR footage. We had some. I'll say some unusual occurrences, but nothing. We didn't have any FLIR set up or anything like that. It was basically just a let's see what happens type thing. We didn't have any audio equipment. We didn't have any cameras running, anything like that. We just wanted to see. I wanted to see what was going on, and if the stories are true that they recognize cameras, they hear the buzz or whatever it is, and they don't come around, I didn't want that to impede on what I may witness, So I wanted to leave all that, personally I wanted to leave all that stuff out, and I think it was kind of an unwritten thing anyway. I don't think Jonathan and Sarah, I think they were perfectly fine with it.
So what type of researcher are you? Are you like traditional, or do you get into the habituation factor? What do you do when you go in the woods?
I'm definitely not an habituator. I don't personally think that that's a good idea. Just because you're I know that there's a lot of people out there, and teach their own. And don't get me wrong. I think that everybody's opinion has merit, no matter what that opinion is. Even if it's different than mine, it still has merit, right? So I want to say that first. But on my personal opinion is on an habituation area is you're creating a dangerous situation by feeding an animal. And let's just say, hypothetically, it's not even a Bigfoot coming into the food. Let's say it's a bear in the middle of the night that comes and gets the food. what's going to happen 2 weeks down the road when some other family is there camping and some kids are there and they're out playing late at night and that bear comes back looking for new food? You know, I think that in some cases, an habituation area is probably not a good idea. Now, if you own the property and you can determine who's on your property and who's not, then by all means, do it however you see fit. You know, my personal opinion is I want to try different aspects. I want to try trail camps. I want to try voice recorders. I want to try different things. I want to see for myself what works best. But
So
I don't want to do the habituation area.
Yeah,
Okay.
we was talking to Katie
that's
last
Rick's
night. We was talking about habituation. What was his opinion on it, you know? And he brought up the. You remember the video of the Bigfoot in the chicken house, where the lady yelled at the Squatch, get out of the chicken house, and Squatch kind of yelled back. Then one of the sons took off after it out in the woods, and he come right. The Squatch was on one side of the tree, and he was on the other side. The Squatch leaned through the tree and hit him in the chest and knocked him down. And everything, you know.
I'm not familiar with that story. That's an interesting story.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of things, you know. But have you ever seen? Do you know the difference between a male footprint and a female Squatch's footprint?
No, you're not. That's a good question. No.
The male heel is wider. He's got a longer first toe and wider. Female has got a narrow heel, but it got a better spread and got a short stubby front toe. There's a difference in that and everything.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'll keep an eye out for that.
Yeah. Steve,
What?
you have a question, my man?
No, I'm just observing.
Oh, okay. All right. How about Rick? You got a question for the man?
When are you gonna get back to Florida, man?
Am I going to get back to Florida?
Yeah. When you gonna tiptoe down there and scare him?
Well, you know, I think I'm going to meet up with you somewhere else. I believe. I think we're kind of working on that, aren't we?
Oh yeah, that's right. And I got a place that I need you at. So contact me after the show.
We'll do. I'll give you a call. We'll definitely set something up for sure.
I was actually going to interject there. I was going to tell Ed if he does ever come through Western New York, he can feel free to contact me and stop. Or when Rick does come up here, if he's in the area, I don't mind if he joins us or anything like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey Rick. I left you my phone number. Give me a chat when you can. Anyway.
I sure will, man.
All right. That's
Sure.
cool. All right. Nikki, you got any questions?
Yeah, in regards to the big truth, are you going to be doing any more interviews?
Yes, absolutely. We're definitely not stopped. I actually have like literally 6 or 7 of them lined up, both Sasquatch encounters and sit down with Ed Brown. It's just a matter of getting the time to do it. I had the opportunity a couple weeks ago to hang out with the Finding Bigfoot crew. That was a lot of fun, and I talked to Matt Moneymaker. He's gonna, he agreed to do the show, so just gonna send him an email. And with the list goes on, I've got a lot. So we're definitely gonna work on that.
Awesome. I'm a big fan of the Sit Down with Ed Brown series.
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad you listened, and feel free to comment and leave your opinion. That's what it's all about.
Well, I didn't know you had a website, and if I did, I would have been there a long time ago. So I'm learning something every day.
Go to YouTube and just type in the channel Big Truth. It's BIGTRUTH, one word.
Yeah.
Make sure you click like and subscribe as well.
Oh, that sounds cool.
That's where all my interviews are. There's also a lot of other information there too. There's Dan Lindholm. He's got some really, really cool things happening up there in Oregon. And I'll tell you what, and you got to go in there. If nothing else, go in there and watch his videos, because I'm telling you, he's got one video, and I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna have to find it, because I don't know what the name of the video is. But I'm telling you what, I have no idea what did this. In my opinion, it's too much for even a Bigfoot to do. I mean, this thing's huge. We're talking a tree that is probably, and I'm guessing because I haven't seen it with my own eyes yet, but I am going to get up there and look at it myself. But we're talking a tree that is probably 3 feet in diameter. That's a good sized tree, and it is leaning, and this thing's probably 100 feet tall, and it's leaning up against another tree. Totally insane. It would take some kind of equipment to put that up there, and it boggles my mind, and I have no idea how he got there, and I keep telling him, I gotta see that tree, but it's pretty cool stuff.
Well, it's surprising, like, how strong is a Squatch, like MK said last night, the way he described it as far as walking, the way it's built, it makes us look like little toothpicks, as far as the strength of them concerned, so you think it maybe 3, 4 might get pissed off and kind of push the tree over?
I'll tell you what, it's possible, but you can look at the bilby ape. The bilby ape is a man-sized gorilla.
Yeah.
Lives in, I believe it's in the Congo, but it's actually known as a lion killer. It eats lions. It was seen eating a lion. That's insane. They say this thing is 10 times stronger than a man. All right.
Yeah.
If a bilby ape, which is our size, is 10 times stronger than us, imagine, just do the math. If something is 9 feet tall, that's 1.5 of us. So that would make it 15 times stronger than a man. So is it possible that 2 or 3 of those got together and pushed it up there? Absolutely. But I'll tell you what, it was not an easy task.
Yeah. Nikki's got another question for you.
Sure.
Unmute yourself.
Okay,
Nikki.
hold on. I know. I'm trying to find the mute button, but everybody's talking to me. Okay, so I have a question about how your travels went with Rick Dyer's donation to that museum.
Say that one more time, I'm sorry?
Say it one more time.
I understand that you got a donation from Rick and stopped and picked it up and took it to a museum.
Absolutely. We
Tell us about that.
Listen up. Rick, can I talk about this?
Yeah,
Sure, go ahead.
Mark, it's open table, man. Anything goes.
I was swinging through Florida, and I stopped in to see Rick, and I told him that I was going to go pick up a carved Bigfoot, 8.5 feet long, 800 pounds. The thing was a monster, and I was going to take it up to Lauren Coleman at the International Cryptozoology Museum up in Portland, Maine. And Rick was kind enough to donate the baby Bigfoot that he was going to use in his more recent, we'll call it hoax. And Lauren actually loved it, by the way. I got it there. I let Lauren know it was from Rick. He was excited about it. He loved it. His wife had already put a new face on it because I guess the face melted in the sun. Is that right, Rick?
Yeah, it's Florida, man. It gets hot down here.
Yeah.
So they've already put a new face on it. Everything else is going to be on display. In fact, I think they're moving into the new museum now. So it's pretty cool. And it's a very cool place to go. So if you're ever in that Portland area, you definitely got to go check out the International Cryptozoology Museum up there in Portland, Oregon, because Lauren's got a really cool place there. And the new facility is insanely gorgeous. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to get back up there and see it myself, see the new one all filled up with everything. So it's going to be fun.
Oh, okay. All right.
Awesome, thanks.
Okay. Ryan.
I was just going to ask him, he gets out in the woods a lot. What's his whole theory and opinion on all the tree structure situation that a lot of people are squawking about in the communities? What value do you think they have? What do you think these tree structures are? I know this is strictly a matter of opinion, but I'm just curious.
Personally, I think most of them are probably snowfall or something along those lines. I think it's natural. I've seen a few. In fact, I bought a picture in Montana just because I loved it, because it wasn't natural. Whatever this thing was, whatever did it, it just wasn't natural. So I had to buy this big picture. It was like 40 inches wide and 35 inches tall.
What about if you are in an area that doesn't get that much snow, and you find structures that are say like
Absolutely.
like that?
The things I'm going to take into consideration, personally, I'm going to take into consideration how far off the beaten path are they. If they're within a 10 or 15 minute walk from the path, I'm not going to discount it. My motto is real simple: question everything and discount nothing. So anything you see, you have to try to find a logical explanation. If you're not, then you're not really a researcher. You're looking at something, you're going, Bigfoot must have done that. Bigfoot must have done that. Bigfoot must have done that. And you see it a lot. You see people doing it all the time.
Yeah, if you go to my YouTube channel, Freddy59100, and the way I explain my structures in my area, I go up to them, I touch them, I explain them, and I try to come up with a theory because, being an arborist, you learn your wood, your softwood, your hardwood, and plus being in the area that I live in, you got to take that into account, because like we live inside of the Shenandoah Valley. When you come in and went to meet that one guy that one night, you was inside a big salad bowl and everything, So when you taking, this is just my opinion, but I've been doing this like since '81, and when you take and look at a structure, you look at how it's bent, look at the back of it, look at the bottom of it, you got your stretching and your contracting.
Right.
Now you take a maple about big as a quarter, about 10 foot high. Now you try to bend that tree, pretend like you're 80-mile-an-hour wind. You can bend that tree, but when you let go of it, that tree's gonna pop back up.
Sure.
So you gotta explain it takes right. You gotta think it takes a considerable amount of strength to stretch that fiber on the backside and contract it on the inside for it to stay.
And I agree with that. There's actually a lot of credence to. There's a study that I read. I feel bad because I don't remember who wrote the study or who it was about, and I feel bad because I'd love to mention them because it was great. But they talked about how it would have something would grab it. There'd be like a quarter. I think it was Kurt Brown, but don't quote me on that.
Right.
It'd be like a quarter-inch turn, break, and then it would be bent over. Not quarter-inch. I'm sorry. A quarter of the diameter of the circumference. It would just be a quarter turn and then broken. Quarter turn, then broken. Quarter turn, then broken.
Yeah, because
you see that a lot. Then that leads a little credence to a Bigfoot doing it. Maybe it's using it as a directional tool.
Yeah.
Maybe it's kind of like us leaving popcorn behind. It's just it
right.
could be that.
Yeah.
What it is, I have no idea. Until I see something that I can't come up with another logical explanation for, it's hard to base an opinion.
Yeah. I always say, go to my video, my YouTube channel and check it out and everything, and when we do get together, I'll sit there and I will talk to you and explain it, and when you look at the videos and photographs, you will see what I'm talking about while you're looking at the pictures.
Sure.
And everything. Okay. Connie wants to ask, let's see, Connie says, ask him if they may use cave systems or shelter and traveling from one area to another.
I am a firm believer that is exactly what they do. That's just my opinion, but I am a firm believer that that's what they do. I think that we would be awful surprised to find out how vast our cave systems are. We have no clue what we have underground. And I think it's a very, very good possibility that that's what they do. When one ends, you know, that's when we see them. They'll come out of a cave, going to another cave, maybe, who knows? But I think that's when we, you know, that could be very well when we see them, you know.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, I agree with that. You know, because living in the Shenandoah Valley, the Shenandoah Valley is a giant volcano. We got limestone and clay and sand, dirt, stuff like that. But we got a ton of caves. You can go to the library in Virginia, any place in Virginia, and find a book on caving, and you wouldn't believe the amount of caves that are still undiscovered here in the Shenandoah Valley in Virginia. You know.
Absolutely. There was a group of spelunker that went into Mammoth Cave years ago, and they came out in Michigan. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, and everything.
I was going to ask Ed, has he ever had? He says he's interested in trying to get vocals and stuff like that on recording. Has he ever?
Speak up a little bit louder, Ryan.
I was asking, has he personally ever had any vocalizations? Has he heard any while he was out there?
I have, actually. When I was out at the Browns property, we heard quite a bit of vocalization. And it was funny because, people could say, well, maybe it was coyotes or maybe it was, dogs or whatever. And in this particular case, there was both happening. There were dogs barking, and the pitch at the beginning of a vocalization, to me, is what tells me what it is. The high pitch, howl, if you will, at the very beginning, it generally leads to a canine. A stronger vocalization at the beginning, and we're talking like the very first second of it, a stronger vocalization leads to something more with bigger lung capacity, because it's got that sound to it, as opposed to a yelp like a canine would do.
Yeah.
And, so we heard both. So I am 90% positive that we heard canine and we heard Sasquatch. So yeah, I have heard what I believe to be Sasquatch vocalization. Yes.
Yeah. Do you believe that they could possibly travel with like a pack of coyotes and stuff like that? Say like at nighttime when they go out, say like looking for deer or something like that.
I personally think that's highly unlikely. I've never really. I've heard reports of people saying they've seen, wolves, at the same time they see Sasquatch. But I think that it's unlikely that we'll say a Bigfoot would domesticate a coyote. I find that pretty unlikely. If they can domesticate a coyote, I think they could start fires. We would have campsites that we find, instead of bedding areas. You know what I mean? So, in my opinion, I think it's unlikely.
Yeah. Okay.
Does he, Ed, do you subscribe to any type of migration theory? Do you think that there's any type of migration to this species?
I lean that way. Yes, I think that their area is at least a 500-mile radius. I think they have a very, very, very large area, and I think that they go wherever the food is. If the food is migrating, they're going to migrate to follow it. So yes, I do think that they will migrate from one end of their area to another, and then probably back. So I do believe that, yes.
Okay, so you believe that it's solely based on food. Have you thought or subscribed to the fact that it could be for mating purposes?
I don't think it has anything to. First, I don't think it has anything to do with mating purposes. I think they will, make within their own, not family, but tribe, if you will, for lack of better words. Because I don't know what you call a group of Bigfoot. Anybody have any idea what a group of Bigfoot is called? I don't know.
They usually just say a clan.
I think they have a social network within their group. And I think that explains a lot of the vocalizations you hear. I think that's them communicating with each other, saying, hey, the humans are 500 yards in front of me, to the west or whatever, and then they would vocalize back and forth. And I think that's them communicating basically, whether they're hunting, whether they're watching us to see what we're doing. So I don't think they migrate to mate. I think they migrate for food or also weather changes as well. I think they will, if it, in the wintertime, obviously at 8,000 feet, it's really, really cold. A lot of snow, a lot of ice. I think they can find food easier if they come down to, say, 3,000 feet, So that's my obsession or opinion.
Oh, cool. Nikki, any more questions?
No, I'm good.
Well, that's unusual.
I asked my question.
Okay, all right, I got one for you. Because I've been trying to answer this one anyway for a while. When you've had your experiences, or you think you've had experiences and not sure, have you ever had a particular smell, like a say like a vanilla or a rotten smell or like a wet dog smell for like maybe like 10 seconds and it passes through? What?
No, I haven't. However, I mean, the one sighting I had was from a very, very far distance away, so I would never smelt anything anyway. The experiences we had at the Brown property, there was no smell that accompanied anything that happened that evening. And when I was in the Sierras recently, we were by a set of tracks that we had seen, which could have been a two-print track, very possible. One was definitely a right foot, one was definitely a left foot. They were about 43 inches apart from heel to heel, so that was pretty interesting. But when we first got there, we did smell what smelled like manure. It smelled like it was just smelled like manure. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
And then a few minutes later, when we came back to measure and everything else, the smell was gone. So could someone have cut the gas? Absolutely. But whatever it was, it wasn't there when we came back.
Yeah. Do you find more signs? Let's say like you're traveling up the East Coast, you just happen to stop in Ohio, and to talk to somebody, and they say let's go for a walk, and you find a track, but then you find a piece of hair in it, or on a barbed wire fence. Have you ever come across anything like that and wondered what it was by looking at it and the texture of it and everything?
Yeah, actually I have. Again, at the Brown property, we not too far from the one print, the juvenile print I saw, there was they have a barbed wire fence that runs along the back of the property, and on one of the barbs there were some hair. They were like, no, that's just cow, that's just cow, that's just cow. So I didn't collect any. I just took them at their word. I kind of regret that now, but I didn't collect it. And again, I didn't have a collection kit with me anyway. I couldn't, I didn't have. I mean, it would have been easy for me to get a piece of paper, fold it over, and put a couple hairs in there, and I should have done it, but I didn't. But yes, I did run into some hairs on a barbed wire. Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, anyway, I found hair on power line poles, like pine telephone poles and stuff. And the last, like I say, on my, if you go to my photos too, I have pictures of particular hairs that was like, it was like 6 or 7 inches long. It would go black, brownish, then it would fade into an orangish color and real curly. Now, that was describing the hair that I found. Now, describe the hair that you found that you thought it was particular. Well, that was because we know it ain't bear hair, because bear hair don't go over 2 inches long. And
the hair that I saw was long. It was curly. They were saying it was probably from. I think I said cow. I think they might have said it was a horse. A horse's tail or something like that. I think that might have been what it said. I can't really remember, but I do remember seeing the hair on the barbed wire. It was fairly long. It wasn't like the length of the tail or even the length of the mane, but it was a good 3-4 inches long. It was very curly. And there was a pretty good bunch of it there, you know. So, but I don't think it was. I did believe them. I took them at their word, and I did believe them. You know, I thought that that's probably what it was due to the color. Its color was an orange color, like you just described, oddly enough. But so.
All right.
I wish I'd gotten some, but I didn't.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool. Has it ever piqued your curiosity when you're on someone's property? You know, do you listen to the wildlife?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because I've noticed when in my I don't know about Rick's area or my area. Rick's area, your area, whatever, you know. But I've noticed whenever squatches come around, I've noticed they imitate certain birds like doves, owls, and stuff like that. And I've noticed by listening to the doves and everything, there's a particular note that certain birds make that a Sasquatch cannot make. And when they try to imitate it, they screw up. Have you ever noticed anything like that?
I've never heard it personally, so I've never caught that personally. I have heard that from other people before. I really pay attention to the ambient noise. You know, if just about 90% of the Sasquatch stories that I've heard, they all talk about everything just shuts up. You know, everything around just stops, and it just gets deadly quiet. You know, and I find that very interesting. And that actually happened at the ground. I didn't hear it. It did sound like it was mimicking another animal. I didn't hear it mimicking a bird. However, I do think that that's a very good possibility, because if it feels you're kind of catching on to something there, it's going to try to throw you off the off the track, and that would be one way to do so.
Okay. All right. I got two questions here. I got one from Connie. I got one from Nick. All right. The first question is, okay, do you think gray squatchers are more aggressive than say like the brown and white and reddish brown squashes? Do you think the color gray has anything to do with it, or do you think that's just a pattern through birth and genetics? You
know, you can look through the animal kingdom, and as animals age, you know, even us, you know, our hair turns gray, and for the most part, most animals as they age, they do become more aggressive. You know, so while I've never made that correlation personally, I think it's an interesting question, because it does fit into the animal kingdom. You know, a gray animal is generally older, more mature, and it doesn't want to be messed with. You know, it's quite simple. Dogs are the same way. You know, when dogs get old, they tend to snap more. You know, they tend to break. You know, so I think that's a very good question, and I think it does warrant some thought. Absolutely.
Okay, my second question is, where is he out of home? How many miles do you put on your old vehicle?
Let's see. I am in my vehicle right now. I'm in Texas.
So you're from Texas.
And I left Cincinnati April 2nd with 49 miles on the van. That was April 2nd. I have 46,619 miles on the van now. I drive a lot.
All right. Okay.
Wow. So that's Ohio. You're from there?
That's my home. That's where I was born and raised.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you just drove along with us. Okay, cool. Okay, now, can you tell me? Because I asked MK the same particular question. Can you tell the age of a squatch? Like if you see say from 4 foot to 6 foot, and you see another one that's like 7 to 9 foot tall, can you tell how old they are by their height, or can you tell how old by the or whatever, you know? Can you tell the age of a squatch by looking at it, more or less terms?
I haven't had any close-up sightings to be able to answer that question with any certainty. You know, I would say I would guess that you could tell the age based on facial features, based on hair color, based on stature, how it stands, as just like any other animal, as they get older, you see the slouch. That would be a sign of an older, you see a gray one slouching, you can be pretty sure that it's an older Sasquatch, but I've never seen one up close, so it would be hard for me to answer that question with any certainty.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna pick your brain right here for a second.
Sure.
When a Sasquatch, and I've noticed this myself, because I'm very, very, very particular when it comes to watching nature. Okay. Now, do you think when a Sasquatch, say, like has a brownish gray, blackish color, do you think that they can turn invisible, or do you think they can just back into the woods like a bobcat and stand there, and you go off within 5 feet of them and never see them?
I am almost 100% positive that they do not turn invisible.
Thank you.
I don't think they cloak. I think that's a misconception. As far as because I do think that they have this natural ability to blend in with their environment, just like a gecko could. Gecko can hide. You never see it. A rattlesnake can hide on gravel, and you never know it's there until it bit you. Animals have a unique sense to be able to blend in, to hide. And I think that also helps them with their hunting, because I think that they are an ambush predator. I think that they work together. They will, you'll see that, you'll have a series of Sasquatch hiding in the brush, another series of Sasquatch running deer towards them. They sit there and they just wait. As soon as it gets close, boom, they just reach out and snag it. I think that's how they hunt.
So you think the same? So you think the same way I do?
If that's how you think, then yes, that scares me. That scares me.
Yeah. Okay. What do you know about the grassland? If you or is that something that's not in your category right now?
Grassland's obviously the Ohio Bigfoot, and it is believed to be more aggressive. And I don't think it's more dangerous. I think it's just more aggressive. In my area, I think it just warns quicker. It just lets you know, hey, you're in my area, get out. I've never heard of anyone being attacked per se in Ohio where the grassland is from.
You ever had any rocks chucked at you?
I never have personally. Dan Lindholm actually has on video where he was walking and a rock hit him in the back. And he actually got the video camera down just in time to see it rolling. So yeah, I haven't, but I've seen, and I believe Dan with all my life. I mean, if he tells me something, he's not going to make it up. I believe him 100%. Anything he tells me, I believe him.
All right, cool.
And I saw the video myself. Don't know where it came from. I have no idea. But it was pretty interesting. He's got that on video too on the Bigfoot channel. Definitely go check that Bigfoot channel out. Absolutely.
Cool. Leo, what's your question?
My question is, do you think that the East Coast being settled first several hundred years ago, and then people moving to the West, that maybe that has something to do with why it seems, it's not known, but that sometimes it seems the East Coast Bigfoot are more aggressive than the West Coast Bigfoot, because the East Coast Bigfoot have been harassed and run out of their territory for longer.
Sure. That's a great point. I do believe that they were here first. If you can go all the way back to a notation in Leif Erikson's journal where he mentions that he was run off by a tribe of hairy giants, deep dark eyes, and
Exactly.
It's a pretty unique story. So yeah, I think they were definitely here first. We don't know. Absolutely.
Oh, okay, cool. Nikki,
Thank you.
another question?
No, I don't have any more questions. Other than I want to know what Rick's doing, because he sounds like he's eating something.
Oh well.
Missed it. What was it?
Rick's over munching.
Rick's luncheon.
Yeah.
You eating again? Rick, I told you you're gonna get fat.
Hey, Rick said he's in the gym every day now. He's getting in shape for his tour or his show, whatever he's got going.
Yeah, he should be out jogging 10 miles, not eating snacks. Just saying.
I'll tell you what, he comes anywhere near my area, he's gonna be going up and down, up and down, up and down, limestone and laurel brush, and everything. But yeah, thing is, what made you decide to get into or thinking about getting into Bigfooting, and what was the purpose of you doing it?
Sure. Back in, about 10 years ago, I had a pretty bad back injury, and I was out of work for 8 months. So, sitting around really bored, I decided to write a book. And I've always been kind of into the Bigfoot thing, but I didn't know if I really believed in it or not. You know, I kind of did, I kind of didn't, you know, I wasn't really sure. So I wrote a book entitled 10 Days with Sasquatch, and for the research, I read a lot of reports, you know, and I came to the conclusion that every one of those reports cannot be a misidentification or a lie, you know.
Yeah.
That's the only other two options, you know. If only one is real, that's enough to say Bigfoot is real. It only takes one out of the thousands and thousands that there have been to make it real, you know. And I am fairly confident with the reports that I read that they were real. So I stayed in it myself. I didn't know about the Bigfoot community online. You know, I had no clue about them. And about 3 years ago, I just happened to get on Facebook one day, and I was like, let's see if there's anything about Bigfoot. And boom, that was the start of my journey.
Oh, cool. All right, I have another question here.
Sure.
Has he ever had anything happen in terms of zapping or mind speak like Les Stroud talks about?
Me personally, no.
I don't know what
I
you
can
mean.
tell you, I can tell you that I've had some crazy experiences, but no zapping or no mind speak or no cloaking, anything like that.
Can you elaborate on your crazy experiences?
Absolutely, I'm going to, and you know, I've never really talked about this too much publicly yet because I've been still studying it, and I'm not sure what it was. You know, I don't know. But when I was at the Browns property, I can tell you there was a few things that happened that I still scratched my head over. One particular moment, we were standing there, and I was standing on the right. Sarah, see, Jonathan was in the middle, and Sarah was to his left. And something big, I mean, this thing was, whatever it was huge, just came crashing through the trees. I mean, and I ain't gonna lie, it scared the hell out of me. You know, it scared me pretty good. Jonathan pulls out his gun, aims in that direction, frantically. Of course, you know, Sarah and I are grabbing our flashlights and and literally within 1 second of hearing it, there was absolutely nothing there. Nothing was there. I completely 100% expected to see a moose or an elk or something like that standing there. That's what I thought we were going to see, and there was nothing there. So what happened, I have no idea. But I can tell you something big came through those trees very fast and stopped. And when it did, it just gone. I have no idea what happened. No clue.
See, I think that's where a lot of that. I think that's a lot of where the cloaking stuff comes from. People try to correlate things that happen while they're bigfooting or squatching or whatever it is, and you know they're out there looking for Bigfoot or Sasquatch, and these things happen. So they say, well, it must have been cloaked and I couldn't see it. You know, they try to correlate it too quickly. But I didn't mean to interrupt.
I get that totally. I see exactly where they get that theory, you know, and I understand it. I have a hard time believing that any animal can just simply disappear. You know, just to me, I can't wrap my head around it. Even though I had that experience, I still don't think whatever that was disappeared. I think, you know, even though we had our flashlights and we're looking all over the ground and under bushes and everything else, I think it was probably, whatever it was probably standing 15 feet away from us, laughing at us. You know, because we didn't see it. And so I don't know. I don't know what it was. No clue. Didn't see it. But that was a pretty scary event. One other thing that happened that night that I can touch on that I again cannot understand. Again, I was on the right. This time Sarah was next to me, and Jonathan was to her left. Jonathan was looking off to the left, pretty much where what I call the bluff charge. I called that experience the bluff charge, where he was looking off towards that direction, and Sarah and I were both coincidentally looking in the exact same spot, right in the middle of the woods. And suddenly this light just came on and went back off. No idea where it was, what it was, nothing, no clue. But it was definitely a light. It did, you know, I kind of, I look at it like a porch light. It looked like somebody turned on a porch light, turned the porch light off. With the exception of, it didn't illuminate the area, just the glowing light was there and it was gone. I have no idea what it was, no clue what it was. The next day when I went out there, I looked for wires, I looked for a light bulb, I looked for any sign of foul play, and I found nothing. And there is no doubt in my mind that whatever it was really happened. I mean, it was something beyond my understanding that way.
Okay, I got another question here, real quick, before I get to Nikki. Do you think Squatches understand what we say to them? Like if you go by, like, "Hey, how you doing?" and wave at them, do you think they know what do you think they can understand us?
Sure. I think it goes back to, you know, and I've used this correlation several times tonight already. I think it goes back to the animal kingdom in general. You know, if you look at your dog, you know, you can look at your dog, and if you say something in an excited fashion, you can say, "Oh, you're an ugly thing, aren't you?" You know, and they're going to get all excited because they're feeding off your energy. You know, I do think a Bigfoot would do the same thing. If you go through and you're being very calm, I realize I'm in your area. Thank you for letting me pass through. If you're calm, I think it helps them stay calm. If you get aggressive, I think they become aggressive. I think they feed off your energy. I don't think it's necessarily what you say. I think it's how you say it. I guess that's my point.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because you know, I go in the woods, you know, and I'll use a Navajo word like ushka yate, and then if I usually get a response to that, and then sometimes I'll go in and say oco iya niha, which means it's Cherokee and it's Cherokee dialect and Cheyenne for I'm your friend, I'm in no danger, and I get responses for that. So have you ever tried any, you know, different kind of any kind of Indian words to see what kind of response you would get?
Well, I don't know any Indian words, so no, I haven't tried. I think that's interesting because I think they would, you know, if they've obviously been there a lot longer than we have, and it was obviously, you know, through Native American legends and folklore and tales, there was obviously a lot of interaction between the two. Some, in most cases, friendly, you know. So I do think that if they picked up a language and it was something that they could pass down, if they could pass it down, then I think that's a very good point. I think that's very possible, I guess. But you know, I don't know how they would pass it down, but if they could, yes.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, Nikki's got another question for you.
Sure.
Okay, Ed. Taking you back to the Browns property, and now that you've told us that you've had all these, you know, experiences out there, I know that there has been the consensus that FLIR footage out there were merely cows, and after you went out there and investigated, you feel that it was a Bigfoot?
I am very positive that it was a Bigfoot. There is no way a cow would be sitting in that area. And I mentioned that on our face-off, in the first episode of face-off that Richter and I do. We debated that particular footage, and I explained in that debate that there's no way it could be cows. First of all, it's impossible because there is an incline there that's very steep. It goes down about 6 feet or so, then it flattens out, and then it goes down again another 4 or 5 feet. So there's no way a cow is laying on that incline. They just don't do that. You know, they just don't do it. If they were down on the flat spot, you'd have never seen it. You know, it's too tall for a cow. So in my opinion, there's no way that's a cow. I've also heard crows. Someone said heated up rocks. No, I don't think it's rocks either. You know, if you watch the FLIR footage that they have, which, you know, I think is one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best pieces of evidence that's out there. You know, I really do. And if you watch it, you can see the head turn occasionally. You can see eye sockets. You can see, you know, the cheekbones. You can see the pecs and the chest. You know, you can see the shoulders. You know, you can see all these things if you just look at it. You can see a little bit of movement in the head. It doesn't look much, but occasionally it does turn the head just a little bit. So being there myself, seeing exactly where the cameraman was, standing right where the creature had been standing, everything that I experienced, everything that I've seen with it, and I have yet to hear a logical explanation as to what it is if it's not a Bigfoot. I've heard a lot of guesses, but none of them make sense to me.
Oh, okay.
But yes, I believe it is a Bigfoot.
Oh, okay. Leo, you got a question?
Yes, I do. Do you feel like you were speaking about seeing the light? I wonder sometimes if places that are paranormal to start with, people don't go to that often, and we hear stories about like ghost hunters going to cemeteries to sit at night looking for ghosts, and they end up seeing Bigfoot. So my question is, do you think that perhaps not the Bigfoot and the paranormal are combined, but the Bigfoot knows that's an area people don't go to very often, so it's a safe area for them to hang out in?
Sure. And as far as the light goes, I think you make a great point. And we had that discussion that night when we got back in the house about 4 o'clock in the morning. We sat down and we discussed different things that happened. And when the light came up, I made that observation. I said, you know, I got to tell you, I don't think that light was Bigfoot related at all. You know, I think that it was paranormal. I think the bluff charge, personally, I think may have been paranormal. You know, there was some Sasquatch activity, but for the most part, it was all not close to us. It was all outside the ring, you know, outside that safety area, if you will. You know, I heard something walking along that ridge where that creature was standing. Like I mentioned, that incline down at the bottom, I heard something bipedal making heavy footfall. You know, I heard it. You know, I heard it with my own ears. Could it have been a person? Absolutely. You know, I didn't see what it was, but I heard it. You know, we heard some rustling around in some bushes. You know, could have been a squirrel. You know, but we heard it. So the fact that I didn't see anything other than the light, and you know, I have to say that there is a possibility that light was paranormal and not Bigfoot related. And keep in mind that this property is an Indian reservation. You know, so you know, it's not just normal land. You know, it's owned by these Native Americans who are very spiritual. You know, so it is possible. Good question.
Cool. Thank you.
I actually have 2 questions real quick. First, you've done a lot of interviews. Have you spoke with any Native Americans directly who gave you any type of insight on what they've gone through or their experiences?
I have not yet, and it's funny you bring that up because that is kind of in the works. We've been talking about trying to set up with a Native American tribe that I could visit and sit down with and talk to several of them and see what their opinion is, if they'll talk to me, And so I haven't yet, but we have discussed doing that. So stay tuned.
That's awesome. My next question is, in the research communities, there's been a lot of findings of translucent hairs recently, ourselves included with our research, finding these translucent hairs. Have you seen anything like that or read anything about that recently? Because we're actually trying to find out what that could be.
Well, no, I haven't. Like polar bear has translucent hair. It's what you see right from a polar bear is actually its skin. You're not seeing the hair. The hair is clear. There's skin under the hair.
Right.
Which people don't know. But it's an interesting fact.
Because
translucent hair isn't far fetched. And that would be an interesting thing to look into. But I haven't seen it myself.
Oh, okay. Leo, what's your question?
On the translucent hair, and we've discussed this on our shows before. If other animals have translucent hair too, and possibly the Bigfoot, then do you think that could be a possible reason of why people say it cloaks when it doesn't actually disappear, but that translucent hair reflects what's the colors around it and helps it blend in, just like so many other animals in the woods?
And that's a very good possibility. Primates are interesting. Primates are interesting. For example, there's one poisonous primate. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that or not. It's a lemur that's down in Peru, I think it is.
Yeah.
And it's actually a poisonous primate. What it does is it licks the poison off its body, the mother will, and then it will put that poison on their children. Then they'll go hunt. So if an animal came over and tried to attack their children, it would be this nasty taste, and they would get poisoned. It's the only point. The point is we don't know what all these primates can do. There's things that we just don't know. If a polar bear can have translucent hair, why can't a Bigfoot? Is it possible? Absolutely. And I think you're exactly right. If obviously you would see the skin, that would be the color you see. But if it could get into a position where it could reflect different ambient lights, then yeah, it could blend in a lot easier, just like a camouflage. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Sounds cool. Ryan, I see you biting at the bit again.
Well, no. Oh my God, my damn dog.
That's what happens when you get them Heinz 57s, dog. Okay. Another question I want to ask you is about the squatches in family groups. Now I've had my head burned up quite a few times because I know I got too close to the group. But have you ever seen or found any signs of a family group that had just been in that area about maybe 2 minutes before you got there? And if you have, what did you notice about the particular area that you were in that they left?
Sure. Personally, no. I've never run across what I would consider to be a family group, of evidence of a family group on a personal level. But I've talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people have told me stories about just that. For example, Dan, you mentioned within two minutes. Dan's got one of his videos where he comes up on a creek bed, and there's a creek, and then there's like this gravel that comes up almost like a beach, and there were wet footprints on that gravel. So there's only one way that can happen. Something was in the water, heard them coming, and walked out of the water. And so that was within literally a minute of whatever that thing made those footprints. So that's pretty interesting find, that's pretty cool. So something was in the water, and they came out of the water, and they heard them coming, I'm assuming. So, but there's no sign in that video that they are a family unit. I'm basing my opinion on people that I've heard tell stories that I respect and that I believe wholeheartedly.
Cool. What do you think about, I know you do a lot of fishing, right?
Fishing?
Yeah.
Not nearly enough. I've done some fishing, but not nearly as much as I'd like to.
Okay. All right. Let's say you stop at a buddy's house, and he's got a river close by, so y'all go down the river, say like check on some fishing bait or something like that, and have you ever, and you notice something weird, have you ever noticed rock stacks along the rivers or in creek beds? And do you think you know, and if you did, do you know what purpose it is for? I told you I'm going to pick your brain.
I've never found any myself. I've seen a lot of photographs. I've seen a lot of video of them. I've even seen some where the rocks are so big that it would take 3 or 4 men to move them, So I'd say there's probably something to it. It probably goes in the same line as the stick structures. There's got to be a meaning. And maybe if it's along a beach, along a riverbed like that, maybe it's one Sasquatch telling another, hey, there's good fish here. Maybe it's, I've already fished here, there's nothing here, I could be some kind of sign like that. I don't know, but I think I find it very interesting.
Ah, okay.
I was going to ask him, from his own experiences or from the thousands of witness encounters, has he noticed what particular type of forest or terrain a lot of these sightings come out of? Was it more addressed to like hardwoods or brush or pines or river valleys or so on and so forth?
That's a great question. And I'll tell you, I've heard just about every possible terrain you could possibly think of, except for flat sand. I've heard in the desert, in the little bushes. I've heard, in the very thick bush up in the Pacific Northwest. So, and the people that have told me, I have to express this because, there are some people that I talk to that I know very, very well, and I trust them wholeheartedly. And if they tell me something, I'm going to put a lot of stock into it, and people tell me some things that, it's like, okay, I would never have thought so. I would never have thought you would find them in the desert. But when Kurt Brown, Claudia Ackley, and myself went out to her area in the desert, we found footprints, that actually had, where like you would step and the sand would push to the side like it's walking on an incline, as it steps, its foot would slide just a little bit to the right, and it would leave, little piles of sand on the right, And the interesting thing about this is this: these are not bare footprints. These are, barefooted prints, toes and everything else. And I bent down. Interesting. I bent down to look at it, and when I put my hand in the sand, it was sharp. It actually stabbed me in the fingers. So I'm like, okay, that tells me that that's not a person walking around out there barefooted, because they couldn't. I can't put my hand down. They're not going to put their foot down. So whatever it was is adapted to it, and maybe there's a cave system over there. Maybe there's a certain area that they live that's, I don't know, but it's very interesting. We found a footprint in an area where I wouldn't have thought they would be. So
right.
That's a great question, and it's just a wide range of different terrains. You name it.
Well,
with the exception of, like I said, bare sand. Just with nothing around.
The reason I asked is because on the East Coast we have a lot of pine thickets, and it always seems that, unbeknownst to people, that this is where they're having some of their sightings in some of the thicker pine areas. And we didn't really find that out until we started doing research, asking people, and they would just, tell us it was along the pines and so on and so forth. So we started looking at that, and on the East Coast, there's a lot of people that have really good encounters near the pine thickets. That was one of the reasons I asked. And the next thing I wanted to ask is we did some research and we've been trying to learn about the month of like May per se. Do you believe there are particular hot months for Sasquatch activity? Because we spoke with everybody from like Stacy Brown to, oh God, Kelly Shaw West, just to shoot names, but they were all stating they were, you could see it online, rock structures and all kinds of stuff, tree breaks, encounters during the month of May. It seems like it was ramping up. Do you kind of subscribe to a theory as to why it would ramp up during these months, or?
Yeah, I mean, it actually makes sense if you follow the food chain. The field mice are more active at that time, which means, the things that hunt the field mice are going to be more active. If they're more active, whatever hunts that thing is going to be more active, and it's going to get bigger and bigger. So it makes perfect sense that in the warmer months, and of course, humans live at a lower elevation, so when it is warmer and they're down here hunting the food that's available down here, they may climb back up in the mountains at night, but during the day, that's where the food's going to be. So it would make sense if there's more activity with the animals in regular nature, there's going to be more activity with the Bigfoot. So that would be my guess.
Okay, I've actually never heard that portion or that side of something, so that's another aspect to actually look at.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Do we have any more questions from the panel?
Hey, Ed.
Yes.
Did you ever get to interview Mitchell Waite out of Arizona, Mogollon Monster?
Yes, I did. He greatly missed. He was a really great guy, and I miss him a ton.
Me too.
Great guy, very, very intelligent. He wasn't the type of guy that was just going to fall for anything. He looked into things. He analyzed it. He was very analytical. He didn't just see something and say that's Bigfoot.
Right.
He looked at it and said, okay, what could do this? And I think that's what makes a good researcher. And he was a good researcher, and he's greatly missed. Great guy, and I miss him. Yes.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to meet up with him one time, and yeah, he was a great guy, and that was kind of the area I used to work. I used to have a little area south of where he used to be in Spooky Valley, and yeah, I just wanted to, I thought you had interviewed him, but I wasn't sure, and I'm glad you got to do that.
Yes. So we talked several times before the interview, and we talked a couple times after the interview. I never had the privilege to meet him, but we did talk several times, and he was always very kind, very professional, and again very analytical. He didn't just say that's Bigfoot. He looked into it and he researched it, just like your researcher should. And I admired that.
Yeah.
You can find that interview also on that same channel, the Big Tree channel on YouTube.
Cool.
I was fortunate enough to go to one of his presentations at one of the libraries there in Sun City, Arizona, and got to take a picture with his big Bigfoot. It was like 17, 18 inch, and was gonna get my red shirt and never got it, but unfortunately.
Okay. All right, folks, we're going to wrap it up because I know Ed's got to put his pedal to the metal and get to his next destination before he gets in trouble.
If you don't mind, can I just add one more thing real quick before we go?
Knock your cookies clean.
I would love to plug the International Bigfoot Conference, which is going to be in Kennewick, Washington, September 2nd, 3rd, and 4th this year. The list of speakers is phenomenal, including some of the names you've mentioned already. Stacy Brown's going to be there. Dr. Meldrum's going to be there. Lauren Coleman's going to be there. Adam Davies is going to be there. Ron Moore's going to be there. The list goes on and on and on. Derek Randall, Todd and Diane Neese are going to be there. Shane Corson, Mitch Townsend, Gunnar Monson. The list goes on. And I know I'm missing somebody. And I'm sorry. I'm doing this kind of a pop my head real quick. But I'm telling you, the list is phenomenal. We decided to create a conference to bring up-and-comers. We've got 3 great up-and-comers going to be speaking, Misty Alibaugh, Kurt Brown, and Becky Cook. We wanted to give these people who have had great experiences an opportunity to share the stage with some of the big-name people, and because they're probably not going to be heard any other way, So let's bring them aboard. We wanted to give them an opportunity to share the stage with these guys, and it has worked out really, really well. We've got a great program. We're giving away a four-wheeler. We're giving away a big screen TV. We're giving away a handmade Damascus blade knife, with Bigfoot carved on the handle. We've got door prizes galore. We've got speakers galore. We've got a great location. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I just wanted to plug that. Go to the internationalbigfootconference.com. Look at our webpage and check out that list of speakers and look at what we're giving away. And you guys, I'll tell you, if you can make it, you got to be there. You got to be there. It's going to be awesome.
All right, cool. All right, now what state and what time?
It's going to be September 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in Kennewick, Washington, which is the Tri-Cities area just below Spokane.
Okay.
And it's going to be it's going to run Friday. We'll do the the meet and greet and everything on Friday, and then the speakers will be speaking all day Saturday, and we're going to wrap it up probably around between 5 and 6 on Sunday. Is the game plan? We'll kind of play it by ear, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And if anybody's interested in a vendor table at a location like that, I definitely suggest you look into it because it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, folks, that is our interview with the man who we know is Ed Brown. Ed, come back again.
I will.
And
now you know me.
Yeah, I know you. Now, all you need to do now is to find a time to interview me, and I will blow your mind.
I'll tell you what, we will set that up. I'll tell you what, you send me an instant message with your phone number, and I'll give you a call here in a couple of days, and we'll definitely set it up. Fair enough?
Fair enough to me. Sounds good.
All right, guys.
Okay.
Hey, guys, thanks for having me on, man. I had a lot of fun. Those were some really, really good questions, by the way. I've heard a lot of shows, and those were some excellent questions, and I enjoyed it. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we try to do our best and everything. But you have a safe trip, man, and be careful out there, and we'll talk to you again.
Thanks, Ed.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, bye-bye, Ed.
Bye-bye.
Okay, folks, you've heard it from the man himself, Ed Brown, and that is our interview with him. So tune in to the YouTube channel and check it out, the interview. If you want to see videos, learn anything, go to Freddy 59100. And if you want to learn really something, go to Virginia, Kentucky, Bigfoot Research Group, and you will learn something. So y'all have a good evening and good night.